You mean that English kid? Seems kinda weird, don't you think?
If you're in your early 20s and had absolutely no taste in TV shows whatsoever as a kid, then you no doubt remember Ace Lightning, everyone's favourite balding, textureless, middle-aged man. Or as I like to call him, my dad. Ace Lightning is a show that aired from around 2002 that in all honesty I probably would and should have forgotten about if I wasn't recently filled with joy at the sight of the video game in one of those PS2 trash bins. Haha. Oh fuck. The TV show followed Ace Lightning, a video game character from another dimension, on his adventures with his human sidekick James.
It's Mark. Mark.
Yeah, whatever, Gareth. And although the show never really got too popular after rewatching it, if I was forced to be honest, once I got over the slightly, although not really, although a bit outdated CG, it actually ended up being pretty good. Good at making me want to fucking kill myself. Brilliant. Here we go then, I guess. Let's start a game. Which game? I don't know, but judging from this music, hopefully not this one. Obviously I can't prove it, but the first time I heard this music, I laughed harder and longer than I've ever laughed at anything in my entire life. Go ahead and click that first link in the description, and I dare you to try and come back with a straight face. But if there's something I hate more than awful pro-life pop rock, it's games that aren't more clear with their difficulty options. I mean, here it's not even cool like Doom or Wolfenstein. Extreme Lightning Night? Fuck yeah, I could not have described myself any better. Then it's onwards to the Carnival of Doom, a name only rivaled in creativity by the also greatly titled Psycho Carnival and of course Dark Carnival. Someone, somewhere got paid for making that name. I'm just gonna let that soak in for a second. It's when exploring this disgusting excuse of an overworld that you realise you're playing a game that's based on a TV show which is based on this very game, ultimately making it the single most accurate movie game in existence. Don't all line up to buy it too fast. Although in actually getting off my arse and actually doing some research for once in my miserable life, I found that I'm actually being a tiny bit of a dick by being way too harsh on this game. The show was originally doing pretty well for itself and gained popularity so fast that they had a bunch of sequels and other merchandise like comics and future spin-offs planned. But they ultimately had to drop it all instantly when the entire brand was banned by Christians in 2004 for being, quote, antisocial. Wow, gee Christianity, is there anything we're actually allowed to like? I mean, they didn't have any time for real marketing or anything. What we're looking at here could be a gem completely hidden and preserved in time.
I'm not wild about this.
Although probably not. But with jokes like these, it really does make you wonder why it was banned.
Hotel? More like a low-tel.
Do you want to enter Googler's Big Top? I'd rather not. Straight off the bat, I'll give them a metaphorical 10 points for the lack of a patronising you don't know shit press X to jump training level and just jumping straight into the, let's say, action. Yeah, I'm going with that. The objective of each level is to collect enough of these Doom Dimes for the amulet shard to drop at the end. I don't know what you're thinking. Jay, that sounds like it would make a terrible video. Why the hell did you choose this game? And I know, because I'm really starting to regret it. The level design and layout has to win something for genuinely making me laugh. In the majority of them, the developers thought they were being clever by allowing you to choose from two paths. But you can just take one and then run back and collect the coins from the other one to finish the level early. It's like a really bad Minecraft adventure map. On top of that, the positioning of things is just so weird. I have no idea why they feel they need to just occupy space with things, but they do. Yeah, that's right, put it there. Why? Just trust me, it'll be great. And then it wasn't. The enemy design is something I can appreciate a lot in games, and here I have to admit that I actually kind of like them. I just feel sorry for the fact that they have to exist in this game's universe. I wish the AI was a tiny bit better. These ones won't even get out of their cage, and this is a boxing elephant. I feel bad for killing it. I mean, surely the human race could find some use for a boxing elephant. They very quickly turn from something you're mildly intimidated by to please just do me a favour and fuck off. Although, do you want to know what's not the most annoying thing in the world? Being attacked and actually being able to walk backwards. Oh good, guess what you can't do? Because of this and the generally off controls in general, combat can really be a massive pain. But luckily for some simultaneously horrible and good reason, they were at least self-aware enough to add a tiny bit more depth than literally just stabbing zoo animals. Your lightning lance, fuck off, I'm not calling it that, actually has ammo that you need to power it with. You can do this by either harvesting energy from your dead foes or just finding some spare lightning. You know, just lying around. Which ultimately makes actually fighting anything more of a job than my actual job that I'm currently between at the moment. Although in the horrendous event that you do lose all of your energy, and believe me, it will happen more than once, a lot, Ace will switch to his other trusty signature weapon. Hand. This hand weapon has the incredible ability to disable an enemy for all of half a second. So yeah, it's pretty much the most pointless, pathetic waste of code I've ever encountered. But as far as levels do go, I have to give the game at least some credit. I really can tell they wanted diverse levels so badly, but it just feels like an empty shell of a platformer, in that the platforming in this game is virtually non-functional, is the word I decided to use. Every level, whether it's a hedge maze or a fun house, pretty much involves around standing on switches to open doors to get the amulet shard. And yeah, you could argue that something else from around the same time, Super Mario Sunshine for example, basically uses the same jump-in level mechanic, but I would counter-argue with, oh yeah, you're right. Although is literally my favourite word right now, and no, I'm not ever going to stop using it. They succeeded in having diverse levels with the inclusion of these pre-boss fight slide levels, which also succeeded in making me wish I was dead. I mean, I'm sat on my ass all day anyway, I don't need to look down and see the exact same thing I'm looking at right now. They pretty much act as a way to transport you to the boss fight while you sort of have fun playing this on-rail shooter game, which, oh boy, what a coincidence, that's my favourite thing to not do ever. But to sum up these levels kindly, it's an awful change in pace because the game isn't first person, and it's an awful on-rail shooter because you don't actually have to shoot the majority of the things you go past. So it's lucky then that the boss fights are nice and disgustingly varied, like those jelly beans that taste of dog food and puke. In that they do undoubtedly taste like dog food and puke, it's just that there's a nice enough variety of them to prevent me from tasting too much dog food my whole life. Wait, what? So is that a bad thing? I don't know, but it certainly isn't a brilliant thing. Which is a phrase that can perfectly sum up this entire game. But another phrase that can perfectly sum up this entire game is that it sure is no Tracy Beaker's dumping ground scavenger hunt. Nope. I think they got a little bit more work to do before they can reach that tier of a masterpiece. But that's for another time. So to conclude, Ace Lightning. More like... oh, fuck it. But unfortunately for me, the Ace Lightning ride of sheer thrills and excitement doesn't quite end there. Because like every game from the mid-2000s, there just has to be a half-assed Game Boy Advance port for me to pretend I'm going in blindly to. And you just know that with these games, there's a marketing team somewhere laughing their ass off at the thought of a kid buying this game expecting it to be anything like the original. But first, as if you weren't already sick of this joke enough, allow me to just order it from
eBay
and load it up on my
Nintendo TM Game Boy Advanced SPTM copyright 2000 all rights.
Now you all no doubt remember that gorgeous orchestral masterpiece of an intro song? Well, you're wrong, because you haven't heard the definitive version yet. It's like Mozart is alive and in front of me, except I'm lying. The game opens with the same story, just this time we're treated with the added bonus of some badly cropped PNGs. I wasn't expecting FMV, but some decent comic book tiles wouldn't have killed me. Then you're instantly dropped into the overworld, and it's all very quick and snappy, there's no waiting around. It feels like what Ace Lightning was going for and should be played like. The overworld itself, however, is what Ace Lightning plays like, and that is bad. At first glance, it's a fairly nice top-down view, which is swiftly ruined when you go, oh hey, look at that really awesome thing over there in the distance. Yes, I have made the decision to go over there and examine it at a closer angle. And then you realise that you can't move anywhere that isn't on this trampled dirt area. Well great, then what's the point? Why not just have a menu? Because then at least it would save the unbearably awkward silence when running between the levels, because of how huge the actual overworld is. Although I have just been complaining about what is essentially an interactive menu, the levels are obviously obviously where the real game kicks off, more like kicks me off a fucking cliff. When I saw that it was a 2D platformer, I wasn't surprised, but at the same time I let out a sigh of relief since it really isn't hard to mess up a nice little mediocre run and gun, is it? Well, no it isn't. The problem is that the developers thought that they were a little too good for that. That maybe they needed something a little more in-depth and challenging for its audience of literally me. So they decided to go with something a la Prince of Persia. The same Prince of Persia, may I remind you, that hadn't aged well for 1989, let alone 2000 whatever it is. The smooth animations and huge detailed sprites the game has completely clashes with the fast-paced gameplay they obviously wanted so badly, which ultimately makes the entire game feel like what I could only describe as Marble Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog. One long, never-ending marble zone. Well, at least I know what childbirth feels like. The purpose of each long, boring level is again to collect the pieces of amulet, but this time there's no stupid coin gimmick to make you pointlessly march across the entire level. So if you do know the route, you could pretty much speedrun the game in no time at all. Oh yeah, apart from it's broken. If you run for a millisecond more than I guess you're supposed to, Ace does this slide when he stops, which may not look like much, but because of the size of things, that's half the screen. I hope you like sliding into enemies and killing yourself, because what a surprise, I don't. And on top of this, and the non-functional jumping and hit detection makes Ace Lightning on the Game Boy Advance quite the little experience. An experience that after about 4 or so levels, I simply could not take any more of. And I assure you that has nothing to do with me finding out that the 5th level boss is Dracula. Fucking Dracula, for fuck's sake. Now some of you might be asking yourself, why if I didn't like Ace Lightning so much did I subject myself to both these games? Well, to answer that with an answer that isn't just, I remember them being good, it's that they're damn hilarious to laugh at. But more importantly, I thought to myself that if I could just ruin one person's life by introducing them to the Ace Lightning franchise, that maybe I could live a happier life myself. And I mean, I don't want to brag or anything, but if you've made it this far, then I'd say I've done just that.